Hi everyone, my name is Lily Perello-Depaz. I am in Dr. Winster's 5353 physiological psychology class, and today I will be doing my final part of the dissection of the brain sheep. So let me get ready and we will start with that. Okay, so as you can see, I have my brain from the sheep here. I have already opened it up. So I'm going to show you what I did. I lifted the scaffold. I took away that fibery membrane that's called the meninge, which covers and protects the brain. It is made up of 3 layers. So what I'm going to show you first is here's the front of the brain, the back of the brain. This is the cerebrum, which is divided into 2 sides. This is the right side, and this is the left side, the hemisphere. The cerebrum is the largest part of the brain. It is responsible for a wide range of high-level functions that include like the conscious thought, that thinking, the movement, and other sensory processing that occurs. Okay, but as you get closer, you're able to see these little ridges in here and valleys. These are called the sulci and the gyra. Okay, they help increase the surface area. It divides it into their distinct areas as well. But ultimately, the more ridges that you see in the brain, that means that there are more brain cells you have. Okay, so let me take that off. All right, back to my brain. I wanted to talk now about the hemispheres and the lobes on the brain. So this is the frontal part of the brain. It is divided into 4 sections. The frontal is right here. If I pull it down to the little bit of the side, you've got the parietal lobe, which is right up here. The temporal lobes are on the side, so let me turn that over on the sides right there. And then you have the occipital lobes, how it's divided by. So in the frontal lobe, this is normally where the decision making is occurring. There's process and motor functions, as well as speech. This is all of where it occurs. Okay. The parietal lobe, which is right here around the right hemisphere, that's where there's the collection of sensory information that's occurring. And then we have the temporal lobes on the side. Okay, right and left side. The temporal lobes are all about collecting and receiving information such as hearing and auditory information. Okay, and then lastly we have the occipital lobe, which is pretty much where the vision and visual memory are occurring. And then on the very, very back, you see this little part right here. Let me turn it over. This part right here, that is the cerebellum. Okay, I don't know if you can see that. The cerebellum helps collect incoming sensory information. It makes you have those coordinated movements. This is basically how you regulate that wide range of functions and processes, both in the brain and in your body. So let me put that down. Okay, now that I have showed you the cerebellum, I want to talk about this section right here, which is the brainstem. Let me flip it over so you can see it as well. Here is my brainstem section. Okay. The brainstem here is composed of the midbrain, which looks at the visual reflexes. Okay, it's right here. The brainstem is responsible for the vital life, sustaining functions like breathing, the heart rate, to the spinal cord. I'm sorry, no, it is vital for sustaining functions like breathing, the heart rate, as well as the blood pressure and the sleep-wake cycle, okay? But within the brainstem, there's also this little section that's called the pons. The pons is a part of the brain structure that links your brain to the spinal cord, and it handles the unconscious and processes specific jobs so that the things that we do without it, it's kind of like pre-programming your brain. So that was the pons. Let me put that back. Okay, all right, let's continue. So we stopped at the cerebellum. So now I want to talk the pons. I'm sorry, we were at the pons. Let me continue this way. Yeah. Here I'm going to talk about the medulla oblongata, which controls the breathing and the heart rate and the involuntary movements. And then within this section, I wanted to bring attention to these little flasps that are at the very front of the brain. I don't know if you can see that I'm lifting them up. These are the olfactory bulbs, which is what the sheep would use to communicate, basically receiving information about the smells from the nose, and then it sends this to the brain. So it's very similar, identical to ours. These again are the olfactory bulbs. Okay, I believe I am ready to open it up. So let me gather my utensils and I will be right back. One more thing I wanted to add before I actually open up the brain is going back to the part of the olfactory bulbs. Is I did want to mention also here is the beginning of the spinal cord that you can see right here. Flip it over so you can see it better. Okay, but also I wanted to talk about the occipital chiasma, which is right around here. It's kind of hard to lift, but I can talk about that. The correct term, I guess, could also be the optic chiasma or occipital chiasma, but this is pretty much where the visual pathway occurs for those nerve fibers and those eyes to cross over, and that is why I then went into talking about the olfactory bulbs as well, as they're connected. But anyhow, back to the occipital chiasma. This is pretty much the visual pathway where some of the nerve fibers come from those two eyes, cross over. They're pretty much providing that visual information for those eyes, contributing to the binocular vision and that depth perception. Okay, so now I'm ready to begin cutting the brain in half, and let me get my scalpel for that. So, as you can see, I am completely going all the way down, trying to let it be as equal as I can. It's a little hard. Okay, let me pause that and see if I can do it better. Okay, I have cut the brain all the way down the mid-sagittal sulcus, so you can see that. So I went through the cerebellum, all the way down to the brainstem, all the way down to even part of the spinal cord. So now I've got my brain divided into sections. So what I wanted us to look at right now, first of all, is what it looks like. Once it is opened up, you can see that there are these little gray and white spots. So I want to talk about that. Okay, the gray matter, those are the dark regions that you see here. Those are responsible for processing the information. Okay, then you also see the white matter. Those are the lighter regions that you see in the brain. This is where the information is relayed back and forth to those other neurons. And then going on, let me see, I believe the hypothalamus is right around here in this area, and that is going to be the area that serves as the function as a relaying station. This is where that communication occurs, where the networking sensories are also using that information to recall that. So again, that was my brain, the sheep's brain, that was divided in half. Okay. So I just finished talking about the hypothalamus. So what I want to talk about now is right around here is the hypothalamus. Right underneath the thalamus is the hypothalamus. It's divided in two and half because I cut down the mid-sagittal part. So the hypothalamus is important because it produces the hormones that control the body temperature, the mood, the thirst, hunger, as well as the heart rate. And then right around here is the pineal gland, which is responsible, again, it's cut in half, as you can see it, which is responsible for producing and regulating those hormones. The example, notably like the melatonin, which, you know, melatonin when it's produced in the body helps regulate the sleep, those wake cycles, and it plays a very important role in maintaining the body's circadian rhythm for resting as well. So that was my brain. I'm trying to see if there may be some other areas I can talk about. So let me put that back together. Okay, before I wrap it up, I did want to share few things on the sheep's brain. I want to talk about this light band of tissue that goes from this side to the other side. This, I believe, is the corpus callosum. It is a lighter band of fibers. See, here's a darker part. This is the lighter part. This lighter band of fibers connects the right and the left hemisphere together of the brain, allows them to talk, and that is how they're able to give that information back and forth. And then lastly, I did want to talk about the little opening that's right here on both sides. You can see like the little opening right there, that little slit. That is where the ventricles are. This is where there is spinal fluid that travels both sides of the hemisphere again. So I'm going to close my brain, my sheep's brain back, put it back down, and say my goodbyes. I hope you have enjoyed my video and have been able to learn at least 20 or more important functions of the brain. Have a nice day. Bye.